Quick disclaimer, I have not played real Minecraft, Java, or Bedrock Edition since the 1.14 update. I'm pretty sure it's the one with the villagers, so take what I say with a grain of salt. The good news is that what I'm going to be talking about today does not really cover in-game features, but instead the stuff Microsoft is doing to the game and Mojang. I've also linked an interesting video in the description that could be seen as a cry for help from Mojang. So, you may have noticed that Minecraft has been changing, like it's not the same. There's this overwhelming feeling that something is looming, like something is slowly, bit by bit, corrupting it. It seems to have occurred sometime around 2017. There was this update, or rather, a new version of Minecraft released. It was called Minecraft Bedrock Edition, and it let you crossplay between all the different console releases of Minecraft. However, there was something that came with this version: built-in mod support. In the beginning, it was an awesome addition, so nobody cared. The only confusing part was that there was mod support, but it was only accessible on the Android, Windows 10, and Xbox editions of the game, and you had to dig into your system files to install mods, texture packs, I think even skins at one point. It's not too bad. Now I can play my Chungus mod on my Xbox. It didn't stop there. The Bedrock Edition felt very different. It felt cheap. In the beginning, the performance was not good. The game would crash for a multitude of different reasons, and the controls, especially on Xbox, were abysmal. It almost felt like a downgrade from Minecraft Xbox One Edition. And, in reality, it actually was cheap. Minecraft Bedrock is based on Minecraft PE, which, if you don't know, it stands for Pocket Edition. It's a mobile game. It was designed for Android and iOS. And it was never designed to run on consoles. Just look at the 3DS version. That was probably the last edition before Bedrock Edition came out. And it was based off of PE, unlike most of the 4J Studios ones. And you could just see how bad it ran. Anyways, since Microsoft took a major cost-cutting measure by reusing PE, and then praying it worked well everywhere else, this is the reason why the game felt cheap on much higher-end systems like the Xbox, PlayStation 4, and it was a source for a lot of the various bugs. In my opinion, they could have at least built a new version from the ground up that felt exactly like a cross between the console and Java editions, but, like I said, they took the cheap route. Alright, so let's fast forward a bit. The game has gotten a little bit better over the course of about 3 to 5 years. It feels a little less like a mobile game, especially like on the Xbox. It feels a little bit better, more polished. The lighting looks like lighting instead of a bunch of weirdly lit objects. And it feels less like a mobile game. The controls got a little bit better, and some of the kinks were worked out. But now there's a new issue. Some weird feature got introduced. The marketplace, along with a little thing called mine coins. At first, when this version was released, there was no real marketplace. It was just a glorified skin selector. And I think there was like the mashup packs from the Xbox One edition that was also carried over. But now, you could buy mods using Microsoft's own currency called mine coins. Yeah, I can start to see why they added built-in mod support to Bedrock. Because they knew that players on lockdown consoles, Switch, PlayStation 4, Apple devices, would not be able to install mods unless they paid for them using Minecoins, because these platforms don't allow you to go into the system files to manually install, user-generated mods that are not on Microsoft's official platform. It's kinda dumb that you cannot access one of the most basic features that was advertised unless you either paid for the mod you wanted, or you bought the Xbox, Windows 10, or used an Android version, and hosted a server with said mods, and then joined it from whatever console you wanted. So, like, in theory, you get, like, a Windows 10 version of Bedrock Edition that costs more money. You have the Nintendo Switch version of Bedrock Edition that also costs money, including the Switch and the computer. And then you had to host the server on the computer with the mods installed, and then you just had to pray. The Switch version will let you join the PC version with those mods. This is obviously a double-edged sword, since you can now play mods anywhere, which is a very good thing, on any platform. But now, you have to pay for them, and shell out that cash for every mod you want, assuming they're paid for. This also opens up the possibility for shovelware mods. You got a blimp mod, cool. But then you download it, and it's literally a reskin of like a boat or a ghast. And you paid the equivalent of $5 for it, and you can't really get that money back, because you already got it. That is a load of malarkey in my book. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of the mods were very good. There was like I think it's called Actions and Stuff mod pack, and that is well worth the money. But now you got a lot of that overproduced, low-quality mods that look good until you buy them, and you're very much disappointed. It kind of seems a little predatory, especially with how you purchase mine coins instead of the mods directly. You have to buy a specific amount of mine coins at a time. So let's say a mod costs, you see, I haven't actually looked at the prices in a while. I'm going to throw up a picture, but let's say it costs 300 mine coins, but you can only purchase in maybe 500 mine coin packs. You are left with a surplus. Now you can either try and find a cheaper mod, or you might find another mod like, oh, if I get another pack, then I can buy that mod as well. And now you're starting to spend more money, which, I mean, if you have to spare, there's nothing against you for buying it. But if you really think about it, would you have bought that mod if you didn't have that extra mine coins sitting in your account? Think about it. Now, if we keep going, we can see that custom skins, easy external world downloads, and even joining self-hosted servers all became basically impossible. It's just a shitty decision after the next. All just designed to squeeze more cash out of the user. The fact that minigames, superflats, and hardcore mode have still not been implemented goes to show that it's not just about making a better version of Minecraft, but instead, a more profitable, cost-cutting one. I won't deny that having a basic version of Minecraft that runs everywhere has done a lot of good, but I still think there are a lot of bad parts to it. Alright, let's shift. Let's look at this from a different angle. If all of the different versions of Minecraft were to be based on one codebase, it would significantly reduce programming costs, it'd consolidate features across all versions, and reduce the amount of people that Microsoft needs to employ to maintain all of the different versions. For example, outsourcing it to 4J Studios, Other Ocean for the 3DS version, having separate things for the Java, mobile versions, all that. It just gets centralized in one code base that they just have the same people work on, and then just compile it for all of the different consoles. And then doing this, it just so happens that crossplay and mod support on all versions is a byproduct of that. If you, for example, had the Apple TV version of Minecraft, that is based off of PE, and if you have a version of PE, you'd be able to crossplay. You'd see how that was a basic feature even before Bedrock Edition. And then just because they decided to base it off of Pocket Edition, they were able to get it to work on all of the consoles. That just shows you it was not necessarily an intention, but a byproduct of the cost-cutting measure. Another issue that arises from this is that making a game for a bunch of platforms does not ensure that it is optimized. If we look at 4J Studios' version of Minecraft, they were just infinitely more optimized and more polished for the consoles they resided on. So, just to reiterate, if you take one code base and just expect it to work on all of these different consoles, that's incorrect. You kinda can't really do that with one code base. Sure, you can make it compile, but you cannot ensure that they all have the same level of gameplay. And if you try and optimize for one, it might screw up the optimizations for another. And then this gets into more technical details. You could try and make it so when you compile for each of them, they have their own sets and prefixes or whatever, their own optimization versions. Basically, their own flags and their own sets of patches that get compiled into their own respective releases, but then that causes platform-specific bugs, and that is no good. And it gets even more and more complex. Alright. Okay, so even today, the Bedrock Edition is still hot garbage. So I'll just swap over to the Java Edition and everything will be fine, right? Well, not so fast. Microsoft has spread its fungus into that version as well. They have forced everyone to use Microsoft accounts. This might not seem like a bad idea, but let's just look a little closer, because Microsoft is a very big company that owns a lot of things like Windows, Bing, Outlook. Basically, anything you use that's connected to the internet probably has some ties to Microsoft. They make a significant chunk of their money from collecting your data and then selling it to advertisers, so then these advertisers can then sell you Chinese junk or stuff you don't need. When they switched everyone over to Microsoft accounts, it provided Microsoft with the following benefits. 1, the ability to collect all of your data. Now, I'm not going to get into a major rant, but letting a company have access to the majority of your data is the equivalent to using the bathroom with the stall door left open. Next, reduced server costs. You don't need to pay to maintain a separate Java Edition account server anymore. That's what happens if you get all of the people using Java Edition to switch over to Microsoft servers. And then, finally, an easy method to make Java Edition players swap over to their more profitable Bedrock Edition. So think about this. You've already gotten them to switch over to a Microsoft account. I'm pretty sure it gives you the Bedrock Edition for free. So now let's say you get fed up using Java Edition for whatever shitty reason they implemented. You're like, okay, fine. I'll move over to the Bedrock Edition. And now you're like, dang, I want to get a skin or I want to get a mod, but you can't really figure out how to install them. It's in a different folder. And then you're like, you know what? It's just easier. I'll just buy it. Boom. Now you're starting to pay money for a mod you didn't think you were going to buy. Which, sure, if you really want the mod, go ahead. If you believe you're going to get enjoyment, there's no issue buying a mod. But like I said, you've kind of just been gaslit into buying a mod you weren't planning on getting. Next, here's what you got for switching over to a Microsoft account. A shitty cape. And quote-unquote security. We all know Microsoft is running a bunch of garbage through your data as we speak, including my data, and they are getting every little bit of money they can squeeze out of it. There's nothing we can do about it, because we are technically the product with this kind of stuff. Now on top of this, there has been even more stuff. There has been a horrible EULA change. That is the end user license agreement, and it's basically the rulebook for what servers can or can't do, like preventing servers from having monetization options. This can be both a good and bad thing. One thing, this is really good. It gets rid of those predatory gambling loot box based servers, but on the other hand, it makes stuff like 2B2T's priority queue that literally keeps the server alive, technically against the EULA. And there are now a lot of safety features, quote-unquote safety features, that are inconveniencing users. Like, for example, if you wanted to write Night Shack or something like that on a sign, out of luck. Because, coincidentally, the first 3 letters of the word night are censored by their safety features. This is kind of dumb. I get it that Microsoft needs to cover their ass so they don't get sued. However, it is infringing on everybody else's gameplay. This has also been accompanied with the ability to report players to Microsoft's centralized reporting system. This means moderators who don't even play Minecraft are going to start moderating you for what you do in Minecraft, assuming you get reported. Basically, a lot of doo-doo that nobody likes. So, you might be thinking, what's the point? Why should I care? Well, it's because I have a theory.
A game theory! Thanks for watching!
Here's where it gets serious. Java Edition currently has no microtransactions other than realms, has no Minecoin revenue because it doesn't have Minecoins yet, has a high development cost just for the team of roughly 50 developers. That is roughly 80 million a year, including salary, benefits, and potentially bonuses. And now, if based off of my horrible math, Java only makes roughly 8 to 10 million a year. This is not including realms, but this is basically saying that Java Edition, as it stands right now, is barely profitable. Meanwhile, Bedrock Edition makes hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and is constantly growing because they are on every single console out there. Bedrock Edition is on the PlayStation, the Nintendo stuff, the Xboxes, mobile devices, and it's on PC as well. The only thing is that Java Edition is only on PC, so it can't even compete. If Microsoft could shift Java's estimated 7.35 million active users over to Bedrock Edition, they could potentially earn an extra 35 to 50 million more per year. Plus, they cut out the Java team salaries entirely, and potentially even Mojang, increasing it by somewhere around $8 million of revenue per year. So if you were Microsoft, how do you make people swap over to a more profitable, more predatory version of Minecraft? First, make it very easy to obtain. It is the only version of Minecraft for consoles, and everyone on Java already has a Microsoft account, so this makes it incredibly easy to get the Bedrock Edition. Next, for players who still stick with the Java Edition, you want to stick with them for the long haul. Make one bad choice at a time, then wait until people stop talking about it, then roll out the next money-generating change. When most of the player base is on Bedrock, they'll have their excuse. Quote-unquote, not enough people play modern Java anymore. Because I'm assuming a lot of people will just stick in the older versions. And they'll either use that as a means to justify no longer updating it, maybe only keeping bug fixes, or they will completely discontinue Java entirely. And then one other option, they could quote-unquote try to save it by making it cross-play with Bedrock, removing its modding capabilities before adding their own Microsoft-approved versions of the modding API. I think we can all safely assume they would probably go with whatever the cheaper route is, and then just abandon it, unless they have a reason to make its death as hidden or as slow as possible to prevent an outrage. Now, you're wondering, how do we save the game? Well, good news, it's not hopeless, because you can just keep playing the Java Edition. Use Pojav on Android, use Questcraft on the VR headsets like the Pico and the Quest, and keep supporting the modding communities. Keep supporting your local servers, and just keep having fun with the Java Edition. Avoid the Bedrock Edition with all of its mine coins and its predatory marketplace overselling. Just stop buying them. Continue to host your own servers. Don't go on the weird ones that have all the weird server-only features. Just stick with the vanilla Minecraft experience and just have fun with it. Invite your friends, just have a nice, good time with Minecraft. And finally, if you cannot run Pojav because your phone ain't one of the more powerful ones, I recommend using Luanti. It's an open source voxel game engine, kind of like Minecraft, but it is 1000% free and 1000% moddable. It's basically what's playing in the background of this video. And if you want the traditional Minecraft experience, I recommend going with either the Mineclonia mod or the Voxel Libre mod. I'm personally using the Mineclonia mod because I guess it's just more recent. And they are both a direct translation of Minecraft into Luanti. Antvenom also did make a video on it a while back. I'll leave a link in the description. Luanti runs much better than Bedrock Edition. It has built-in shaders and has one of the best modding APIs around. It is quite literally what Bedrock Edition should have been from the beginning, because it also supports crossplay. You can play with a PC player and a mobile player, and there's no problem, and it runs really well, and it's very easy to run your own home servers. Minecraft was built by a community that loved creativity, freedom, and experimentation. Let's not let that die because of a greedy company that likes to harvest our data and exploit our nostalgia for profit. Continue to make awesome builds, play fun mods, and just have fun in the game. Switch to older versions of Minecraft if you still have or can get them, like the pre-Bedrock versions of the console editions, the old PE versions, and old Java versions. Or, if you don't have the spare cash, like I mentioned, you can play the open source equivalents like Luanti, and there's another one called ClassiQ, which is more like a Minecraft Classic experience, and then contribute to those platforms. Ensure the Minecraft experience is not lost. Imagine this, a direct one-to-one translation of Minecraft 1.7.3 to Luanti. That'd be really fun to play. And they would ensure it would not get lost. Imagine one day, since if, theoretically Microsoft discontinues the Java Edition, they might even discontinue the Java Edition launcher, and thus all of the different versions of accessible Minecraft could be theoretically lost. I'm sure people have them backed up, but it will just be incredibly much more harder to play them. If you guys have any thoughts, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if you believe that Minecraft should not be ruined by a shitty company, feel free to share the video as well. Well, that'll do it.